Alright, so today should be a nice, quick, simple video. Right here I have a sensor bar for a Wii, and I need to power it through a USB port, and I'm not sure what the power is going to it from the Wii, but I'm pretty sure it wouldn't be a standard USB because the Wii has USB ports on it, and they chose not to use that for some reason. So let's see what's in here and see if we can just power it by 5 volts. Now the reason I want to do that is the TV that I want to use it on is nowhere near the actual Wii. So this will make it where I don't have to have this wire going across the room to make it where the Wiimotes work. So we'll see that. And I could get a wireless bar, but then I'd have to keep changing batteries, and I'd rather just use the USB port in the back of the TV because it's already there. Now, right off the bat, the person who put this together didn't quite do it cleanly. I mean, they just kind of crammed it in there and bent the bar, but that's okay. This is pretty much exactly what I thought it would be. You have 3 infrared LEDs in series, and you just have a resistor and power coming in, and this is just mirrored. So hopefully all I have to do is change this resistor and call it a day. Well, both resistors. But what I might have to do to make this work is redo some of these traces, cut them and rewire it. That way, instead of it running on whatever this power is, it can run a lower voltage. Now, let's see. I'm going to say the power going in here is probably between 9 and 7 volts, because typically these will be about 3 volts per diode, but it's a little lower because less current's needed for the infrared. So the best thing to do here is just plug it in, see what the voltage across the terminals for the power is, see what the voltage drop across the resistor is, and what the voltage drop across each LED is, and that'll give us a good idea of what we have to do to modify it and make it work. Alright, let's go do that. Okay, so I have everything set up here. You should be able to see, I can't, but this is infrared, so you should be able to see that on the camera. One thing I notice is these resistors are fairly warm, so who knows how long they're going to last. But let's see what voltage we have coming into this thing. Well, it might be a really short video because that's 5.51 volts coming in here, which is good enough for just putting that straight to a USB port. And now that I think about it, I just had a final today, so I'm a little off. It makes more sense because each one of these should have about 1.5 volts, not 3 volts across it. So let's see, verify that real quick. 1.304 volts. So yeah, see what kind of voltage is being dissipated across that resistor. Yeah, about 1.6-ish volts. So looks like I won't have to modify a single thing on this. All I have to do is lop off the end of this cord and put a standard USB port on there for power. And I drew this diagram for nothing because reality is I don't need to modify it, which is a good thing for simplicity. Okay, so let's put this thing back together and then put a new end on this port. Let's see. Should be. Well, I'm glad I looked at this before I put it back together. This red wire is the negative end, and positive over here is this goldish wire. So I'm glad I looked at that first. That could have been, well, it wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have fried anything because these are diodes, but it just saves me time in the future, because obviously if it wasn't working, I would have to take it apart and figure out why. But I don't have to do that, thankfully. Alright, well that's all that is. Don't really need that end right now. So all that's left is that. And I need to see if I even have, I'm sure I do, a standard USB socket. Alright. So I know that the two outer ones, one's power, one's ground. Pin 1's power, but I don't remember the orientation of pin 1. I'm guessing, I mean, there's so many ways to look at it, but I mean, I'm guessing that would be pin 1, which would be this one over here. So let's just lop the end off of this and see what happens. Yeah, of course. Of course, there we go. Yeah, it looks like it's okay. Put a little solder on here. Hands are still shaky from that wonderful final. Let's tin these. Now, usually you can just tin these. Let me crank up the heat. Wow. Yeah, just crank up the heat to melt the coating on these. Let's just play around up here where it doesn't matter. There we go. That's hot enough. Smells terrible too. Let's turn it back down. Oh, hold it. Okay. Okay, so positive, I think, is this one. And in that little board, it had the gold wire being positive. So let's go ahead and try it out. Now, if you got the polarity messed up, it's not the end of the world, because LEDs are diodes and they are protected. All that you're going to lose is a little bit of time. And it's much better to lose a little time than to lose a little electronics. So that should be good. Now, I mean, do I want to put a strain relief on this? Yes, I do. Just because, I mean, I know they didn't, but I'm not them. That should be good. And you know, the wire they used was actually fairly good, all things considered. You know, there's a top and a bottom to this. I grabbed the wrong one. There we go. This makes a whole lot more sense. Put that in there. Put the little strain relief knot in there. I'm just going to do this loosely in case I have to pop it apart. Well, I'm confident this thing's not going to blow anything up. I'd like to find a... There we go. I have a wall wart over here. Let's plug it in and see what happens. Yep. You can definitely see that it works. So that's it. Push it in. You got a fairly adequate connection. Super cheap light bar, and you don't have to get a wireless one. Most TVs nowadays have a USB port in the back. I just really didn't want to put a wireless one on there and have to keep changing batteries. And some of the USB ones online were actually kind of expensive from what I found. So getting a few dollar bar and just putting a end on it saved me a few bucks. All right, that's it. Okay, so there's the USB port in the back of the TV, and I got the sensor bar plugged into that, and then the wire just comes up to the top of the TV. Oh, and seems to be working. These things, in my opinion, have always been a little jumpy, but I'll see if that's my bar or if it's bad batteries in the remote. But there you have it.